Hello, I'm Lucielio.
And I'm Kason Cook. Welcome to Stratazine, your source for authentic, curated content for digital and social media professionals.
On today's show, we'll dive into the topic of social media and mental health.
And later today in our tips and tools segment, we'll get a demonstration on how to use screen time on your phone.
First, to our question of the day. What do recent studies show about the link between daily Instagram use and increased levels of anxiety and depression in teens?
We'll give you guys information that we've gathered about this topic. We'll first start with the person on the street interviews. I went and interviewed people on campus about this topic. I asked how social media has affected their lives, and this is what they had to say.
I'm Kason here with Nathan. Awesome. What's your guys' relationship like with social media like? Like, you guys have social media?
I have Facebook.
Facebook?
I have Facebook and Instagram, but I don't really use them much.
Okay, that's fair. Would you guys say social media, does it negatively impact your life or positively impact your life?
From the mission, I see you say positively, but like outside of the mission, I just don't use it because I just
Fair enough.
don't use it.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Yeah, for me, it just doesn't. Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of great things come from it. I know there are good things on social media, but I don't see them hop up in my feed often enough.
Yeah. I'm Kason here with
Christina.
Awesome. Well, what's your relationship with social media like?
I guess it's a positive one because I normally take breaks from studying and I scroll, so
Okay, so it's affect your life positively?
yeah. And that's how I reach out to my family. So
Oh, good. I love that. Yeah.
thousands of
Communication.
miles away.
My name is Kason. I'm here with
Brianna.
Brianna. Well, Brianna, how does social media affect your life?
Well, I use it as part of my business. So I'm trying to establish a business. So that's one way that I use.
I love it. Would you say it's positively affected your life? Awesome. Okay, thank you so much. It's nice meeting you. Share with
Grant.
Well, awesome, Grant. Well, how has social media affected your life?
I think it's definitely had some positives and negatives. It definitely has helped me to connect with people that I think like I've gotten more distant from, to help me stay a little bit more connected in their lives. But definitely also like it's easy to get like addicted to, I feel like,
Yeah, I feel that's a big negative. Getting
kind of
addicted.
scrolling,
Yeah. How's it going? My name is Kason. I'm here with
Dr. B.
Dr. B. Awesome, Dr. B. How has social media affected your life?
When my daughter was in the mission, we got Facebook Messenger because that's something she could use. But honestly, I avoid.
You avoid it?
Yeah, it gives me a lot of information that I didn't need.
That's fair.
And it's enticing, but I'd rather do other things.
Sounds good. Thank you, Dr. B. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good.
Social media has been affecting teens' mental health throughout the country without them even realizing it.
Andrea Taylor has been researching about how social media affects students' mental health. Here's Andrea on the topic.
Everyone in the world is using social media, especially college students, whether it's to keep up with certain trends or to keep up with their friends. We're not being very aware of how it's affecting our mental health. New research is now showing how social media is affecting college students all throughout the U.S. In a study done by Iowa State University, they surveyed over 230 students. Half of those students were told to limit their social media time to 30 minutes a day, while the other half could have done whatever they wanted, kept up their normal routine. The students who limited their social media time to 30 minutes a day scored significantly less for anxiety, depression, loneliness, and fear of missing out at the end of the experiment compared to the control group. Another study shared by statenews.com says the research from UC Davis Health shows a high correlation between social media and low self-esteem. The article goes on to explain that seeing altered images or extremely filtered images can lead to someone not liking their own appearance, hence leading to lower self-esteem. If you want to learn more about the articles and the studies done, links will be given at the end of the video.
Now that we know a little bit more about the correlation with the time we spend in social media and our mental well-being, let's take a look at what the professionals have to say about the subject. Recently, I spoke with Corey Kerr, a professor in the digital and social media emphasis in the communication department at BYU Idaho, to get his insights.
Hello, I am Lucia, and today we are with Corey Kerr. He is a faculty at the BYU Idaho College for the communication department. And today we have a question for you about social media. So, how can social media also have positive effects on mental health, or is the impact primarily negative, do you think? And how can students find a balance?
Well, I think it's primarily negative. I think you can find a balance. I think there are some upsides. I mean, you have a bit of a loneliness epidemic going on, and that tracks almost one to one with the advent of smartphones and with social media, right? And so we are way more connected and way more informed than we've ever been. And we're way more depressed and anxious and sad and lonely and angry than we have been. And so I don't think that we are built to be connected to 10,000 people, right? We're really made for small organizations like families and small communities and those types of things. And so from like an overwhelming amount of connection and knowledge, we become overwhelmed and anxious, those types of things. But there are some upsides. The speed of communication. I mean, you can keep in touch with, distant family members and people that you went to school with and those types of things. And so I think kind of the secondary and tertiary friendships and relationships that you would have that might fall by the wayside, there's still some kind of exchange that kind of goes on.
Right.
But generally speaking, it usually makes everything way worse, right? And so what I would do globally or nationally is different than what I recommend individually. So as an individual, I think we need to look at the actual effects of those things. So what you can't do is you can't take a look at the effects of those things where you're still mainlining it and it's always in your face. And so I teach a class called Intentional Creativity, and in that class we get a lot of really interesting benefits simply from people turning off the notifications on their phone, deleting apps that are not essential or that they find after they use the app that it doesn't feel good. I jokingly talk about, do you want to sit on the toilet for 45 minutes while your legs go to sleep and you just doom scroll and you feel worse about everything, because you could poop faster and just not have an electronic device in your face, right? And people report, anecdotally from this class, people report that they fall in love with learning again. Their attention span increases, their anxiety and their depression decreases. They're more peaceful. They're more connected to God. They're more connected to their family and their friends. And then studies have shown that there is a direct one-to-one relationship between Instagram use and body dysmorphia, for example, in adolescent girls. Their use of social media and attention spans. Our attention spans are significantly reduced, and so there's pretty significant evidence that a limitation of those types of things is really helpful. What I recommend for students is it is likely that most college students have been raised in an environment where they have never been an adult without having all of this stuff in their face all the time. And so I recommend that they just scorched earth, like burn it all to the ground, right? And then carefully decide what you reintroduce, right? If somebody thinks that they're having negative effects from some sort of food allergy, right? Cut it all out and then add back in wheat and see if you're okay with the effects of that. And then add milk and see if you're okay with the effects of that, right? So I say the same thing, like take a week off of all of it, right? And then see if you're okay with, looking at TikTok or Instagram for a few minutes a day on a desktop, not on your phone, right? And then see what you actually miss and what you want to introduce into your life rather than what you've been told that you have to have. We don't put an alcoholic inside of a bar and say, don't drink. And they just sit there and just, I'm not going to drink. But they're in that environment surrounded by the problem that they're having. So that's the number one thing. And then the other thing is be very intentional about your consumption, your media consumption, right? If you're unintentional about it, what you will find is that other people will control what you're doing. They will decide how you think and feel. They will push you to the extremes of one end or the other of politics. You'll become an echo chamber of one as you start to have the algorithm and AI feed you more and more and more of what makes you angry or sad or those types of things, because anger and sadness are the things that promote the most engagement on those platforms, right? And so joy and happiness and connection and empathy actually cause us to like put our electronics down and go outside and be with each other, right? But if we're pissed at each other, then that's when we start hating that other person. And I'm just going to sit there and I'm going to make all these videos and type them and be angry in the comments and fight with, I engage more. And so there's a financial incentive for the people that are pushing this on us for us to be more engaged. And the most engaging type of thing is this polarization that causes a lot of this depression, a lot of this anxiety, a lot of this hate. And so that's what I recommend is step away from it for a week. Just don't do it, right? And then reintroduce intentionally the types of things that you feel would benefit your life. And I think what most people find is that, going off and never talking to anybody and living without electricity in some cave in the woods is not a healthy situation, right? And on the flip side, having your phone in your face, 6 inches from your face as you're trying to fall asleep and go into a restful state of dreamlike, you're actually just, the blue light straight into your brain with all of the horrors that are going on in the news. People sleep better. They start dreaming again. They're restful, they're more peaceful. And so there's a balance in the middle that I think is going to be different for every person. I love social media. I love connecting with my friends. I've met people that I never would have met before because I'm on YouTube and because I'm on Facebook and because I'm on Instagram, and because of those types of things. But I would like to be the driver of my life. I would like to be the one that's in charge of what I think and feel. I would like to come to my own conclusions, and I would like to experience peace and harmony. The joke that I quote all the time is, somewhere some poor phoneless fool is sitting next to a waterfall, not really sure how scared and terrified and angry he's supposed to be.
Well, thank you so much. That was very good. Thank you.
Corey, thanks for taking the time to share your expertise on the topic.
Social media affects everyone differently. Experts researched who uses social media more out of people that are depressed and not. Here's Cole giving us an update on what he's found.
Hey, I'm Cole, and this is your news industry update. Social media affects everyone differently. Some people feel more connected, drained, but a new study is showing just how real that impact can be for kids. A recent study in JAMA Network Open tracked nearly 12,000 kids ages 9 to 10 over 3 years. It found that the more they used social media, the more likely they were to show signs of depression the next year. And here's the big deal. It wasn't that depressed kids were using social media more. It was the other way around. More time online came before the symptoms. Experts say we need to be more aware, parents, teachers, and everyone, talking about how social media makes us feel and setting boundaries can make a difference. That's your update. I'm Cole. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Cole. Our tips and tools for this week are directly related to our topic of discussion. Catherine Tedford is here to teach us how to make it easy to reduce time on our phones.
Hi guys, it's Catherine. I'm doing tips and tricks this segment. So I'm going to show you how to set a screen time or screen limit for a specific app. So if you go into your settings and you go to screen time, you select screen time, you go to app limit, and then you're going to add limit. And if you go under social, then it gives you all your social media. And I'm going to choose Instagram. So I'm going to click that, hit next, and then you can select however long you want to select a time limit. And then that's it. Thanks for joining me in this segment. See y'all next time.
Thank you, Catherine. Back to our question of the day. What do recent studies show about the link between daily Instagram use and increased levels of anxiety and depression in teens?
To answer that question, based on the research that we have gathered, daily use of Instagram can cause higher levels of anxiety and depression.
That's all for this episode of Stratasyn. Coming up in our next episode, the topic will be about the impact of influencer marketing. Thanks for joining us today on Stratasyn.
You can find links and attribution to everything from today's podcast in the credits in the show's notes. Thanks. Have a great day.